The air crackled with tension as the Senate hearing room fell into an eerie silence, every eye locked on the confrontation unfolding at the center of the chamber. Senator John Kennedy, his silver hair catching the harsh overhead lights, adjusted his glasses with a steady hand, his southern drawl cutting through the stillness like a blade. Across from him, Representative Maxine Waters leaned forward, her voice sharp and unyielding as she pointed an accusatory finger. "You, Senator Kennedy, are nothing but a thug in a suit," she declared, her words dripping with disdain, echoing off the marble walls and igniting a storm of gasps from the onlookers. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the fallout, but what happened next would turn the moment into a legend. For John Kennedy, the insult wasn't just a political jab, it struck at the core of who he was. A man raised in the humid backroads of Louisiana, he'd clawed his way up from humble beginnings, driven by a fierce belief in justice and the common man. His wife, Clara, a soft-spoken schoolteacher with warm brown eyes, had stood by him through every campaign, every late night, whispering encouragement when the odds stacked against him. Their son, little Tommy, just 8 years old, idolized his father's integrity, often mimicking his speeches with a toy gavel in hand. Maxine's words weren't just an attack on his politics, they threatened to unravel the legacy he was building for his family. Inside, a fire ignited, but Kennedy's face remained a mask of calm, his mind racing for a response that would rise above the venom. Maxine Waters, on the other hand, was a force of nature, shaped by decades of fighting for her community in south-central Los Angeles. Her fiery spirit had earned her both allies and enemies, and today she saw Kennedy as an obstacle, a smooth-talking Southerner blocking progress on a bill she'd poured her soul into. The legislation aimed to fund inner-city schools, a cause close to her heart after watching children struggle in underfunded classrooms. She'd lost sleep over it, clashing with colleagues who dismissed her passion as overreach. To her, Kennedy's measured opposition felt like a personal betrayal, and in the heat of the moment, "thug" slipped out, a word she'd later regret, though pride would keep her from admitting it. The seconds stretched into eternity as Kennedy rose from his seat, his tall frame casting a shadow across the room. He didn't shout or retaliate with insults. Instead, he pulled a worn photograph from his jacket pocket, holding it up for all to see. It was a picture of Tommy, standing proudly in front of a community center Kennedy had helped build in a struggling Louisiana parish, its walls painted with murals by local kids. "This thug," he began, his voice steady but laced with emotion, "spent last weekend with my boy, hammering nails and painting walls so kids like him could have a safe place to learn." The room murmured, heads turning toward Maxine, whose expression faltered. Kennedy continued, "I've walked those streets, Representative Waters. I've seen the same struggles you have. But calling names won't build those schools, it'll just tear us apart." The challenge was clear, a battle of wills between two leaders who cared deeply but had lost sight of their common ground. Maxine's cheeks flushed, her mind flashing to the classrooms she'd visited, the tired faces of teachers begging for resources. She'd misjudged Kennedy, assuming his opposition stemmed from indifference rather than a different approach. The weight of her words pressed down on her, but her pride fought back, urging her to double down. Yet something in Kennedy's eyes, grief mixed with resolve, stopped her. He wasn't just a politician, he was a father, a man who'd felt the sting of her label and chose to respond with action over anger. As the hearing adjourned, Kennedy didn't gloat. Instead, he approached Maxine, offering a hand. "Let's talk," he said simply. She hesitated, her mind a whirlwind of defiance and doubt, but the sincerity in his voice broke through. They met later that evening in a quiet office, the tension still thick but softening. Kennedy laid out his plan, a compromise bill that blended his focus on local community centers with her push for school funding. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Maxine listened, her initial resistance giving way to a grudging respect. She'd spent years building walls to protect her cause, now, she saw a chance to build bridges. The resolution came slowly. Over weeks, they worked together, facing pushback from their own parties. Kennedy's colleagues questioned his softening stance, while Maxine's allies accused her of selling out. Late-night calls and heated debates tested their patience, but Clara's quiet support and Tommy's innocent questions about helping the other kids kept Kennedy grounded. Maxine drew strength from memories of her own mother, a single parent who'd fought for her education. Together, They rallied support, turning skeptics into allies with a shared vision of empowered communities. The bill passed narrowly, a triumph born from that heated exchange. On the day of the vote, Kennedy invited Maxine to the Louisiana Community Center, where children cheered as they cut the ribbon on a new wing, funded by the legislation. Tears welled in her eyes as she watched a young girl, clutching a new textbook, thank her. Kennedy stood beside her, Tommy at his side, and for the first time, they smiled together. The moment was captured on video, spreading across YouTube, a testament to redemption and unity. By the end, the story left an inspiring message. Even in the heat of conflict, understanding and collaboration can forge a stronger path. Kennedy and Waters, once adversaries, became symbols of hope, proving that from the ashes of a harsh word can rise a movement that lifts up the next generation. As the video fades, the viewer is left with a call to action: find common ground, build together, and never let pride dim the light of progress.